All right. Well, let's jump into like what's happening in the real estate world. So, by the way, my name is Alan Richardson, the managing broker at Maximum Realty and Realtor Partners.
My name is Ming Richardson, the compliance broker for Maximum One Realty and Realtor Partners. And thank you for coming to Backstory on Monday morning.
Yeah, every Monday morning, 9 a.m., we kind of go over the comings and goings and the
real estate.
Yeah, kind of stuff. All right, let's talk about mortgage rates. Okay.
Jumping right in.
So, yeah, we're going right into it. So, mortgage rates jumped up for the 7th week in a row. We're running a 5.11 right now. So, we are well into the fives. I do see us kind of holding somewhere around there, but we're going to see what happens. The market's going to get shocked a little bit next week, probably. Mm-hmm. The Fed is going to be raising the federal funds rate, which is not directly tied to mortgage rates, but still it will have some impact. But a lot of our lenders have already taken kind of expected increases, already kind of hedging their bets on that kind of stuff. So,
and just so you know, go ahead, get your client locked in. Typically, you can lock in for 90 days. So, rates are good right now in consideration. Yeah. So, lock it in.
And so, but if you watch the news, you're going to see things like surging interest rates push mortgage demand down more than 40%. Okay, mortgage demand is down, but it is not down 40%. If you take total mortgages, meaning refinances in there, well, then yes, it's
that's
down.
Where the hurt, the biggest hurt is refinance, because right now there's no incentive for your current homeowners to take a refinance at a equal, if not slightly higher than what their current interest rate is.
So last week, mortgage applications fell 3% for the week, and we're down 14%. Now, not that 14% is minuscule, but still a pretty significant impact. But this kind of leads to where we feel like we're going in that, the mortgage applications that folks are putting in now, these are going to be happening, through the summer and all the way into the fall is when they're going to be finding a property more than likely. So, just kind of know that we kind of expect this. It shouldn't be a big deal, but this is it's not 40%, 50%. If you watch some of the news, they're going to be like, mortgage demand is down by over 50%. And that's just not realistic kind of thing. So, but we are seeing
majority of our, probably 30% of it is on refi.
Yeah.
So about
the majority are on there kind of thing. So prices of homes sold in March set a record, but sales is down, and that's something that we have continued to see. And I'm going to show you some more, and we're looking at the number of sales continuing to decline as it goes compared to last year, and then we really kind of expect it to kind of set off later on in the year. And so, NAR also did a Realtors Confidence Index survey kind of thing. And you can see, what, as far as like buyer and seller traffic, it is fairly similar to where it was. Mm-hmm. Buyer traffic is actually even trending up right now from just a couple of weeks ago, which is kind of what we expect for the summer buying season anyway. But, and we would like to see more seller traffic moving up, but the challenge for our sellers is, where are they going?
Right. They have to buy in order to sell.
Yep. So, right now the average median is 17 days on the market. First time buyers are making up 30% of our sales. And that is actually lower than what it has been in the past. It's gone as high as 42%. But you can see how that entry-level buyer is getting hurt, which is our first-time mm-hmm. buyers. The rising prices plus interest rate is really kind of taking a chink out of our first-time buyer side. Sales, 28% of our sales are all cash sales. Now that includes both investor purchase and even for those programs like Ribbon and that kind of
stuff. Divvy and Home Partner America.
Now, one thing that we've been talking about was we're expecting the number of sales to go down as the year goes by. We're not looking at prices really declining much, but I got some interesting statistics here, and this shows our total existing sales percent change year over year. And mm-hmm. so the total number of sales has actually not just been dropping like later on in the year. This has been happening for the last 6 months. The number of sales have been down between 1% and about 6% every single month for the last 6 months. We're looking at this kind of exasperating even more. We're expecting for sales, even during the summer months, Not that they're not going to
Not
trend
that
up, but they're going to be less than last year.
Right. And it's a cycle where a seller has to buy a home in order to sell theirs. So everybody just kind of hang on tight right now, so to speak, to a certain extent, unless they have second home.
Well, and so as far as existing home sales by region, the South makes up almost half, 45% of all the sales in the U.S. are made up in the South. So that's actually pretty good for us. But here's one thing that I found pretty interesting is that this is our sales by price range, that 250 to 500,000. It makes up 43%, and honestly, no one really thought that 43% was I mean, up to 500,000 is like our biggest category,
right?
Versus only 20% of 100,000 to 250,000. That's not about demand. That's about supply.
Mm-hmm.
is our kicker there. And this is where we see, kind of moving forward, this is a percent change in sales from a year ago by price range. And this is something that we have been seeing. And so you can see that in the, up to $100,000 is down by 20%. Okay. But we know there's like that product is almost non-existent.
Well, it's existent, but it's definitely not move-in ready, and it typically require another $100,000 rehab.
Yeah.
Minimum.
So, minimum, but the price range between 100,000 and 250,000, that's down almost 30%. And this is when I say down, not the dollar amounts, but the number of sales. And again, this is about availability of products. And so you can see that overall, that 250 to 500,000, even though it made up 43% of the sales, that's only about it's actually down 1%. And so what has been moving? Well, the high price is what's really been carrying a lot of things, 22% up to $750,000, 30% up to $1 million. So, we're seeing a lot more high-end sales, but, it's all the demand versus the availability that's really kind of pushing that on there. Now, the same time, this just came out from National Association of Realtors, and I want to kind of show you what's happening with pricing just in the last 3 weeks. So our median list price 3 weeks ago was 15.3% up. Then it dropped down to 14.9, and then 2 weeks ago, and then last week it dropped down to 13.6. We are seeing prices starting to level
down.
Off.
Right.
Now, we're still talking about double-digit price increases over prior year. We're not looking at prices just kind of plummeting down, that kind of thing. But we are starting to see where, and this is something for realtors and for agents to be paying a lot of attention about, especially in dealing with our sellers right now, as far as clear expectations of what's really going on. This is the median list price for the state of Georgia this year versus last year on median list price. What's happening in list price here now? And so you can kind of see the different colors, but I actually wanted to break that down so you can see that some areas are still up by 50, up. And so the darker the color, the higher, the lighter the color, the blue, the less. But what does that really mean? Well, here over in Coweta County, median list price is flat versus a year ago, 0% in Coweta County. Over in DeKalb County, prices are down 1%. Median list price is down in DeKalb County. Now, not all counties everywhere. Well, Fulton County was up by about 5%.
Yeah, DeKalb County has city, both Fulton and DeKalb has city and county taxes, which make affordability a little bit challenging sometimes.
But this is just median list price year versus year, so that shouldn't have as much of an impact on it. But median list price year over year, median list price in Fayette County is up, but it's only up 1%. Over in Cobb County, same thing. Median list price is up only about 1% year over year. So even though we've seen these national list price, 15, 14, 13%, we're seeing that come down. Here on the ground level, watching what's really happening right now, we are seeing prices starting to level off.
Yep.
And so for buyers, that is pretty good news there. But the other side of that is we still have rising interest rates. So, that's continuing to make it really challenging for our buyers. But on the positive side, we are starting to see a more flattening of
price increase.
Yep.
Basically.
And now that's not across the board. You can see that in the whole state, it really is still kind of up and down by county, even by city. But it's good to start seeing kind of some market pricing, as well as that our sellers aren't continuing to push. But when prices come down, that's one thing that not all our sellers are really ready to have that conversation.
Well, that's because what they're being told and what they're hearing and what they're Googling is given a broad spectrum and not without the details what's causing some of these items. Just like Alan said earlier, mortgage rate is down by 40%.
Yeah.
But if you take 30% out of that 40, of refinancing, so there's the nitty-gritty, so to speak.
Now, 9 out of 10 American mortgages currently carry an interest rate of less than 5%, and so we're talking about let's look at where are our sellers right now. Two decades ago, the typical mortgage was around 6%. Right now, about 92% of our existing homeowners say their current home is quote unquote affordable.
Mm-hmm.
However, affordability continues to be kind of a big deal moving forward. This is the share of total homeowners with mortgage rates below 4% in Georgia. 31% of all mortgages are below 4%. And then as far as mortgage holders, share of mortgage holders, just not homeowners, just total mortgages
holders
is almost half have a rate less than 4 or below. And right now about 30, and why is that? A third of our homes in Georgia
are without mortgages,
are owned just outright.
Straight out.
And so first of all, like when people is housing going to crash, and what happened in 2008, is that going to happen again? Well, to begin with, our mortgage industry, our overall housing industry is way more solid and stable than it ever was. 35% of our homes don't even have a mortgage. You can just look at the amount of stability that comes from the overall market from that. Now, when you pair that with, mortgage rates are running about 5%, and so this is kind of the it's very easy to just kind of focus on, okay, it was at 2.65 and now it's going at 5. Well, but if you're an existing seller and you bought before 2018 or 2019, you may have bought over 5% already. You can see that those are the average mortgage rates for past years. If you find someone that bought in 2008, a 5% mortgage rate is not bad for them. Okay,
we just got really spoiled during COVID time,
and so like finding folks that have had some, not finding, but when you come across sellers that are sitting at higher rates, that these rates don't make nearly as big of an impact out there. And it's one way for us to kind of target and focus on who are the sellers who are most likely still to sell. Well, if you got an interest rate over 5, then already
probably not.
Yeah, there's still a lot of folks out there that still have interest rates that just didn't want to refi for whatever reason.
Well, a lot of times too, they've been advised by the lender saying that you only got 10 years left by the time you refi the whole entire amount. You're not pulling any cash out. There's
you could do a 15.
Need.
Yeah,
right.
You have some options there. Now, on the buy side kind of thing, right now we're seeing where our buyers are buying smaller homes than they were at the beginning of the pandemic. So you can see where the overall square footage size has kind of been fluctuating out. But we haven't bought this, like it's been 2019 since we bought homes about this size. And so, but that's going to price is really one of the things that is really pushing it right now. National Association of Realtors just released a new statistic that the average mortgage payment increase is for the exact same home last year versus this year is $560 more a month. Okay, that is
increase in interest rate.
Well, it's interest rate plus property appreciation. We've gone up another 13-15% year over year, plus the interest rates going up. And so that's equating to about an extra $500 a month. And so I think one thing that we have to get our head around is that we still have a lot of demand in our market, right?
So even with a $500 increase, just so you know, if you want to rent a home, that increase
It's
is
even worse,
probably
yeah.
$1,000.
Right. But for buying, though, the big kicker here is if you want to buy a home, you have to buy on payment. And so in buying on payment, we have to understand that expectations have to change. For our first time buyers, we have to be realistic about how much home can they afford. We have to be willing to have those conversations. Also, anyone that was looking at a home 6 months ago and they're looking at it and thinking that price point is still the same,
it's
not even close, right? Because we've had that same price appreciation, and now the rise of interest rates, which in the last 2 months has really kicked up. All those times we were saying buy it now, buy it now, buy it now, we look pretty smart right this moment, but that doesn't help those folks who are looking to buy right now. So we have to be realistic about what are we doing on price, how are we setting them up on expectations, because one of the hard things is when you go out and look at a house that's $300,000 and then you find out that you can't find a house that you can afford a $300,000 house anymore because you just bought off this number that you had in your mind. And so even folks that were approved a couple of months ago, their buy box has probably changed.
Yeah.
And so we need to make sure that we're speaking,
with
to our lenders, with our clients a lot, because we have to be ready right now, or ready, not for right now, but where this thing is going. And we have to make sure that they're prepared to either they're going to pay more or they're going to have to buy less than what they were looking at buying.
Correct.
So Fannie Mae released some really interesting information. And so I wanted to kind of share this with you. And, they went through and they've got some very interesting kind of takes on where things are going. And so the first thing is that you can see that, the gray bars on the screen, those are the recessions that we've had. And the red arrows, those are each time that the Fed has really tried to drive up the federal funds rate. And so you can see that generally speaking, 7 out of 8 times when the Fed drives interest rates, when Feds drive the federal funds rate up, there's a recession that follows there. And so I'm not saying that the Fed causes recessions, but it's 7 out of 8 times kind of thing. We have had 3 instances where they had what's called a soft landing, where we managed not to. But you can see, all the red lines there represent all the times that that the Fed has raised the federal funds rate and it has caused a recession. The green times are the only times that they've done that and not caused a recession in turn. So, and we just haven't had real good luck with that. That being said, that doesn't mean that housing's going bad. That doesn't mean things are going to go crazy in there. But could we be looking for an economic slowdown that comes out of this? Because they raised the federal funds rate because the economy is doing really well. Inflation is going really high. That means that the market activity is pretty intense. And so they want to throw a little bit of water on that. You can see the vast majority, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, the last 10 times that they've done that, they've kind of stalled the market. Only 3 times have they held back enough. So we'll see exactly where that goes. But historically, I found that to be some pretty interesting information. Right now the Fed themselves is pointing to a need for quicker tightening. So we really do expect that, the Fed doesn't meet until next week, but when they do, we expect that they're going to be going with at least a 0.5 point, maybe 3/4 of a point increase.
That's interesting, because if you look at year-over-year percentage change on wages, it's really high.
Really high. However, the funds rate is still really low. Adjusted for inflation, this is the home growth forecast from Fannie Mae, and what they're looking at is home prices being almost flat for 2023. But that doesn't mean that it's going down. It just means it's going to level off with where it's been. So Fannie Mae is looking at prices kind of leveling off, not, and there's no way they're going to level off as far as an annual basis on 2022. We've had double-digit price increases. We're going to go through the summer. We will see much closer to flat this fall is kind of what I'm expecting.
I think it's going to be a much cooler fall than last year.
And so, but you can see that we're not the only ones. Last month at the sales meeting, we were talking about this, and we're trying to make sure that you guys are prepared for really what's kind of going on.
Please utilize your KV Core. If you haven't logged in, please do that at this time.
So this is our current home buyer demand. It's still really strong, but what Fannie Mae is looking at is that sales over the next 6 months dropping. Gosh, if only we had said that. We've been saying that. Okay, we're not looking at property values going down. We're looking at number of sales going down. So you got to make sure that you are ready to really rock yourself out.
And once again, it's fueled by the builder not building quick enough, or demand is exceeding the builder demand, and also with resale, because everybody kind of are hanging on, stay tight, that there's no inventory turnover.
Yep. So this is the yield curve and consumer confidence score. When you compare the consumer confidence, and then anytime the 10-year treasury and the 2-year treasury kind of meet, when those things are going, it's signaling that we're heading to a recession. You can see, the last recessions we had and how these economic indicators are coming up. And again, Fannie Mae is looking at not a really intense recession, but this is going to be what they're expecting, an economic recession in 2023.
The economic recession, but at the same time, with the strong us producing products, it just depends.
Well, but the other thing is that understand that what's happening with the recession and the housing market, while there are some similarities, and that's one of the things why we see number of sales going down. This, for out of the last 10 recessions we've had, property values only declined once, and that was mainly because we helped cause that recession right there. We were part of the problem. So, don't think that this means housing's on fire, things like that. But it does mean that we have to position our businesses. It does mean that we have to be really smart about what we're doing for lead generation. If you think about where am I getting my business right now, and we go through a market shift, and you aren't nimble and on your toes and ready for shifting, then you could find, every 7 to 11 years, the market shifts. And when that happens, there's a lot of folks that kind of get run out of the business, not because they want to, but because they weren't prepared. Be prepared.
They were not adaptable.
Yeah. So sometimes you'll see these stats that say U.S. foreclosure activity sets post-pandemic highs. Well, yeah, but like this is really where. So is it up compared to where it has been during when there was no economic activity? I mean, no foreclosure activity, when it was all banned? Absolutely. This is really what it kind of looks like. Distressed property sales are, down at some of its lowest levels ever. But this is driven by the market, right? Like homes are not underwater. Why on earth would we have REOs and distressed properties?
Multiple clients that knows that there's equity in their home, and therefore they are basically selling it and turn around renting it back from the investor. So they're not losing the $50,000, $100,000 equity.
Well, and short sales are at zero. Okay, we're just not seeing, and so right now, into the brokers are getting these weird phone calls like, "Hey, I'm looking for a list of foreclosure homes." They're not there. There's not this, there was 5 HUD homes for the state of Georgia. There was 3 Fannie properties for the state of Georgia. Things like that. They're always going to have some level of foreclosure activity, but it is really, really minuscule.
And typically, some of the foreclosure is because the folks has passed on and they don't have any heir registered.
But even if the economy starts to trip or stumble or do anything like that, housing and foreclosure, like property values aren't going down. That's the thing. Do we see them flattening off? Yes. But we've seen 2 years, especially, of massive property value increases. So there's no reason why we'd have foreclosures. Folks would just sell if they need to.
Correct.
So Now, one thing we are seeing is an interesting trend. Suburbia is standing up to the Wall Street investors. We're seeing more and more HOAs that are blocking investors from buying and turning out and renting. There's a couple of neighborhoods here where, there's only one rental allowed, for the entire neighborhood, they allow one rental. And so for a couple of things, these are things that we need to understand, and we also need to prepare, because sometimes we do represent investors. And so now one of the things that we got to make sure is we're checking to make sure that this property actually, like you can buy it, you just can't rent it out.
Right, there's no rental restrictions. And a lot of your big time investors, they have addendum to their purchase and sale, which states that if the property is subject to rental restriction, they have the right to terminate the contract and get their earnest money back.
Well, but the hard part is on some of these big companies that have just kind of come in and done it. So like, for example, there's a Zillow home, and Zillow decided to sell off to an investor to do a rental. Well, guess what? They can't. And so we're seeing more and more neighborhoods, the HOAs, that have adopted rental restrictions. Keep an eye out on that, because I don't hate it, you
may want to double check if you have an HOA. Please double check, because your bylaw always changes, and it may not be the same when you first moved in versus what's current HOA is.
So, and then we want to go green for just a minute here. So understand that there is a climate solution hiding inside your walls, and I mean that absolutely literally kind of thing. Buildings are responsible for about 40% of the energy consumption inside the United States. And so, and of that 40%, over half is just heating and cooling in there. Well, when you look at how well some of our houses are insulated, how well that we've really kind of, anytime we do renovations, when we add insulation kind of thing, you want to really help the climate, you want to
put extra insulation,
throw in insulation. This is one of those things that is really
thermostat, so where when you're not home, you're not heating, cooling your home. One, to reduce your energy bill, and two, it helps.
It's just smart. So make sure that that's one thing we should really be talking to our clients about, kind of thing, is insulation's a really big deal. And as far as like cost wise, it really is extremely efficient. It's cost effective to add more insulation. Anytime you're doing renovations, anytime we're renovating a house or looking at that, we're always filling up the walls with as much insulation as we can, being smart about how, what we do around windows and doors, and using high efficiency doors and windows is a big deal right now. It's going to continue to be, because utility costs are going to continue to go up. One of those things that we want to make sure that we're doing is being smart about it. So there's a new study out there. It says, what do Americans believe add the most home value? So I kind of want to run through that. So 53% of the residents said a large square footage was really important, which is nothing new. We've known that. But also 76% said that a large number of rooms. And this is very different. A few years ago, everyone wanted open floor plans, right? And now 3 out of 4 folks say they want more rooms, because everybody needs a study room and an office and a Zoom room and a this and a that, blah, 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 kind of stuff. So,
and also the open kitchen concept. Sometimes when I'm a cook. So when you cook in there, it kind of smell the whole entire home as well. So if you don't cook a whole lot, that might be a great item to have. But if you do cook a lot, have a really good ventilation.
Now, as far as what features really make a big deal out there, so vaulted ceilings is adds about $20,000. Large number of windows is about $20,000. Open floor plans, which again, completely, of course, folks still like open floor plans. Upgraded roof, we know that's a big deal. 2-car garages add a lot of money. 2-car garages are a big deal on renovations, that kind of stuff. Single-car garage even, but having some place where mama can bring the groceries in without having to get wet.
And you're looking at a single-car garage, or typically in your urban area, so where you have to park offside, so it makes it a lot more desirable for single ladies for safety issues.
And then outdoor living is also continues to be a big trend. Now, what about schools? How much does good or bad schools hurt you? It's a big deal out there. You know, the one school district versus another school district. If you have a home on one area, I mean,
same
like
county with
side by
much,
side.
yeah, much lower rating.
So high rated schools on average, highly rated schools, home sales in highly rated school districts sell for $77,000 more than average rated schools, which average actually doesn't help. It's actually down a little bit. Poorly rated schools, almost $60,000 in there. So, and that's one of the things where home ownership, because when folks buy homes and they get involved in the community, they demand that the schools get better, and people move to areas, and schools still matter. We need to understand that, and that makes a big deal when you're talking about pricing with your clients, and you're looking at what goes on. The school district matters
always,
even if you don't have school age kids. It matters.
Say even retire, folks that are retired, don't have kids or whatever, or single and don't plan to have kids anytime soon. It does matter.
Yeah. Now, what's one of the biggest feature areas in the house? She said earlier, kitchen. Updated kitchen means that 55% of home buyers said an updated kitchen will convince them to buy a house they otherwise wouldn't consider. Kitchen design and quality is of high importance. 92% wants upgraded appliances, 86% wants upgraded countertops, and that's always natural stone. Upgraded floors, 85%, and 84% wants upgraded cabinets. So 47% of home buyers would rather buy a home with an upgraded kitchen than have to renovate it themselves. So yeah. It really does. It matters, the kitchen. And so if you are looking at doing renovations, if you're flipping houses, things like that, kitchen's number one.
Well, with supply and demand right now, material hard to get right now. And so without paying a premium dollars.
Yeah.
So
anyways, this week, on Tuesday and Thursday, I'm going to be, I don't know if you're joining me or not, but we'll be doing Contracts with a Broker, Contracts 101. I'll be doing that Tuesday in person at Fayetteville at 10 o'clock. On Thursday at 11 o'clock, we're going to be doing it in the airport office. On Wednesday here in the McDonough office, we have Take a Walk on the Wild Side. So...
You guys, this is about passes, more than passes. And just so you know, due to different shifts right now, we have seen different things that we weren't seeing before. Even though you may have taken this class a couple of years ago, please do come in and check out to see what is new lately. Yep. And that can improve the quality of life for your clients.
And then I have relaunch starting next week. And I don't say that because it's completely sold out. But if you are planning on coming, don't miss, because it is starting next week. So hope you guys had a great week. If we can be of any service, please call, text, smoke signals.
Thank you. I'll have a great Monday.
See ya.